Hello everyone, welcome to the new session of Post-Harvesting Process Part 1. So in this session, we are going to study about the general information about the post-harvesting process, and there are different post-harvesting treatment for the storage of the seeds. So there are different things that we are following this post-harvesting method. So we are going to study about that. So let us start this session. General information about the post harvesting. Each type of cereal requires a specific post harvest treatment. However, there are certain general principles that apply to most of them. So, there are certain general principles that we are going to apply for all the type of cereals or all the type of crop plant. But there are some specific post harvest treatment depending upon the species of the cereal crop, depending upon the other fruits or the vegetables that we are growing. Okay, so there are some general principles and there are some specific post harvest treatment. Cereals undergo a number of processing stages between the harvest and consumption. So, from the harvesting and up to the consumption of the seeds, there are different processing stages. Okay, so that we are going to study. So, this chain of the processes is often referred to as the total post harvest system. So, we are going to study about the total post harvest system, right, of the crop. So, this is the chain of processes, the different processes that is often referred to as the total post harvest system. So, the post harvest system can be split into the three distinct areas. Post harvest system means after the harvesting of the crop, what we are going to do that with the crop. So the first is the preparation of harvested grain for storage. So first thing that we are going to, that is for the storage. But before, after storage, after harvesting and before storage, we do a number of process. What are those? The second, which is referred to as the primary processing, involves further treatment of the grain to clean it, to remove the husk, or to reduce the size. So there are so many things along with the seeds. That is, they contain the husk, they contain the soil particles. So all that should be removed. So this is called the primary processing of the seeds, right? So the primary processing involves further treatment of grain to clean, remove all the unwanted material from the seeds. Okay, remove the husk and reduce the size. The products of the primary processing are still not consumable, but this primary processing, after the primary processing, also the seeds are not at a stage of consumable. The third stage, that is the secondary processing, transform the grains into edible products. So primary processing is there. Okay, remove all the dirts, remove all the husk from it. Okay, and there is a third stage, that is the secondary processing, that transform the grains into the edible product. So the primary processing involves several different processes designed to clean, sort and remove the inedible fractions from the grain. So this is the thing that we do in a primary processing. Remove all the undesirable things that are not edible. So that should be removed from the seeds, mixture of the seeds. The primary processing of cereal includes cleaning, grading, hulling, milling, pounding, grinding, tempering, parboiling, soaking, drying, and also sieving. So this is the thing that we are going to do in primary processing of cereals. Next comes the secondary processing. Secondary processing of cereal or adding value to the cereal, that is the utilization of the primary products, that is whole grain, flakes or flour, to make more interesting products and add variety to the diet. So this is the secondary processing of cereal that include the processes that is fermentation, baking, puffing, flaking, and frying and extrusions. Puffing. Puffed grains are often used as a breakfast cereals or as a snack food. So sometimes we eat puffed grains, right? So puffed grains are often used for breakfast cereals or as a snack food. During puffing, the grains are exposed to a very high steam pressure, which causes the grains to burst open. And the puffed grains can be further processed by toasting, coating, or mixing with other ingredients. So that is the another thing. But the thing which we do in a puffing, that we take the whole grain and we expose that grain to the high steam pressure and the seeds get burst out. So that can be consumed. That is called as puffed grain. Flaking. Flaked cereals are partially cooked and can be used as quick cooking or ready to eat foods. The grains are softened by partially cooking in steam. So some steam is given to the seeds so that it become partially cooked, and then they are pressed or rolled into flakes which are again dried, right? So the flakes are eaten crisp and should have a moisture content that below 7%. So it is highly dried so that it reduces its moisture content. So that is called as flaking. Fermentation. Doughs made from the cereal flour can be fermented to make the range of products. So we can make a dough of these cereal flour, okay, and we keep it for process of fermentation, and we can make a different types of product from those fermented dough. Baking. Dough and batters made from the cereals flours are baked to produce a range of goods. So we go for baking also. So the dough and batter that is made from the cereal flour, that can be baked. So that we are having different baked products like bread, cake, okay. Extrusions. So extrusion involves heating and forcing food, usually a dough, through a small hole to make a strands or other shapes. So in extrusion, we change the shape actually. The extruded shapes then undergo further processing such as frying, boiling, or drying. So when we press out with some holes like material, so it takes a particular shape and then it is dried, and then it can go for the frying, boiling, or even drying. The extruded product includes pastas, noodles, snack foods, and the breakfast cereals. Projects and small businesses may involve only one or several of the activities in the total chain, from the growing crops through the production of the edible products. So these are some of the edible products, okay, that is made by the secondary processing. Some small businesses are set up to clean and package whole grain. These business can be successful as there is a very little need for the equipment. However, as with all businesses, there must be a clear demand for the products. Okay, so the post-harvest treatment for storage. Let's come back to the post-harvest, which we have studied about the secondary storage, and now we are going for the post-harvest treatment. So the first, we after the harvesting we get the cereals, okay, harvesting, then we go for the threshing, then we go for the winnowing, then we go for the drying, and then we can store these seeds for the storage. We can take these seeds for the storage. So this is all the post-harvest treatment, and that is for the storage. So the first thing, harvesting. There is an optimum time for the harvesting cereals. So harvesting is done at a particular time, and this is specific for a type of crop, depending upon the maturity of the crop and the climatic condition, right? So the crop is harvested, the cereals are harvested. This has a significant effect on the quality of the grain during the storage. So if we harvest at a right time, then we could have a great quality of the grain. But if we are harvesting at a you can say the prior to the harvesting time or after the harvesting time, then the quality of the grain will be affected during the storage time. So the correct time of harvesting is very, very important because it can affect the quality of the grain. Harvesting often begins before the grain is ripe and continues until mold and insect damage are prevalent. So to avoid this mold and insect damage, we can harvest the grain before it get ripe. And grain is not fully ripened contain a higher proportion of moisture and will deteriorate more quickly than the mature grain because the enzyme system are still active. So if the grain are not fully ripened, it means that they are having a good content of moisture in it, and that is the time that it can get damaged through the molds, that is the fungi, through the different insects, okay, or the even the bacteria are there. So to avoid that, we can have harvest prior this fully ripened grains. Okay, so that can be quickly that is the quickly than mature grains because the enzyme system are still active. If the grain remains in the field after maturing, it may spoil through wetting caused by morning dew or the rain shower. So sometimes there is a rain shower, sometimes there is a dew. So that can damage our fully developed or mature grain. So that is why we harvest it prior the maturity. So there is also an increased risk of insect damage. Cereals are traditionally harvested manually. There are three main types of harvesting equipment for the small scale producer. So we can have different methods if we are having the small scale producer. Producer, that is the manual method, animal powered, and even engine powered method. A range of mechanized harvesting equipment suitable for the small scale farmer has been developed. Some of it is more efficient and the cost effective than others. So some are very efficient and some are cost efficient. So according to the availability of the method or the availability of the machines or the manpower, we can opt for the harvesting method. Harvested crop are left in the field for a few days to dry before further processing, because we have opted this seeds to harvest prior it's get dry. So it should be allowed to dry in the seeds, open in the seeds. Next comes the threshing. Threshing is the removal of grains from the rest of the plant. So there are grains means, so this is the harvesting product. There are leaves, dry leaves. There are grains attached with the hulls like this. Okay, so suppose these are the seeds. So what are requirement these seeds, and what is the harvested product? This is the harvested product. So we should go for threshing. Threshing means removal of this seeds from whole plant. Okay, so the threshing is the removal of grain from the rest of the plant. It involves three different operations. Separation of the grains from the panicle. So this is the panicle part. Sorting the grain from the straw and winnowing the chaff from the grain. So this is the three different operations that is involved in the threshing. Separation of the grain from the panicle is the most energy demanding of the three processes. So the first thing, that is the separation of the grains, and that require a lot of energy. Okay, so it is the first process to have been mechanized. Sorting the grain from the straw is relatively easy, but is difficult to mechanize. Winnowing is relatively easy, but by hand and by machine. Most manual threshing methods use an implement to separate the grains from the ears and straw. So we are having different threshing methods, and that we can go for any method that we can go. But the main thing what we are doing in this, the grain from the ears, we are separating the grains from the ears and straw in threshing. The simplest method is a stick or hinged flail that is used to beat the crop while it is spread on the floor. So this you can see the farmer is beating this whole uh, plant, and by beating the seeds are removed. The seeds are removed from the plant. The range of engine powered threshers are also available for this particular task. Next is winnowing. Winnowing is the separation of the grains from the chaff or straw. It is traditionally carried out by lifting and tossing the threshed material so that lighter chaff and straw get blown to one side and the heavier seeds fall immediately vertically downward. So here you can see in a figure like this. So this is thrown away in the air, and the lighter chaff, it's blown away by the wind, but the seeds that are heavy, it falls vertically downward. So handheld winnowing basket are used to shake the seeds to separate out dirt and chaff. They are very effective, but it is a slow method. There is a range of winnowing machines that use a fan to create artificial wind. So we can have the winnowing machine even. Okay, so the mixture is dropped down, and here we can have a fan blowing of the fan at one end. So what will happen? The chaff and the small straw that is blown away and the heavy seeds are stored at one place vertically downward. So this is the putting down the mixture of the chaff, hulls, and the dirt that is there, and all this chaff that deposited away from the seeds. So these are the seeds. So this can be also used. This speed up the winnowing process, and some of these contain sieves, screens that grade the grains as well. So sieves are also there. Some minute dirt are there, so that can also be sieves, and we can have a screen so that can also be removed from the seeds. Drying. Next method is the drying. Prior to storage or the further processing, cereal grains need to be dried. So before storing those seeds, we should go for the drying process. The most cost effective method is to spread out in the sun to dry. The best thing is that you can spread the seeds in the sun and allow it to dry. In humid climate, it may necessary to use an artificial dryer, but when the condition is quite humid, right, that sun is not available, so that for that we can go for the artificial drying method. Simple grain dryer can be made from the large rectangular box or tray with a perforated bases. So we can have a large rectangular box or tray, and they are having perforated bases. So the grain is spread over the base of the box and hot air is blown up through the lower chamber by the fan. So this allows the seeds to dry, reduces the moisture content of the seeds. The fan can be powered by the diesel or electricity, and the heat supplied by the kerosene, electricity, gas, or the burning biomass. So we can have this for following this fan. to operate this fan, we can have a power by diesel or electricity. Okay, and the heat, suppose we are heating the seed, then we can use kerosene, electricity, gas, or the burning biomass. These cereal grains should be dried to 10 to 15% moisture before storage. So before storage, the moisture content of the seed should be lower down so that seeds should not get damaged. Storage. Dried grains are stored in bulk until required for processing. So we must store these dried grains. Actually, these grains are dried. Okay. So they should be stored in bulk until required for the processing. The grain should be inspected regularly for signs of spoilage and the moisture content tested. So at the time of this storage also, we first of all, we must get ensure the seeds are in a good condition. They are not in spoiled stage. Okay, and also test the moisture content of the seeds. That should be tested, and then only we should go for the storage of the seeds. If the grain has picked up moisture, it should be re-dried. And suppose at the time of storage, earlier it was dried, but at the time of storage, the seeds get restored the moisture, then we should go for re-dried method. The grains are often protected with the insecticide and must be stored in the rodent-proof container. Very, very important. At the time of storage, we can get a harm from the insects. Some insects can come and damage those stored seeds. So the insecticides we can use. And also the rodents proof. The container should be rodent proof. So this is all about this session. We will have two more sessions to complete this post harvesting process. Till then, thank you very much.